Good morning and welcome to the melting point where we engage in conversations that matter. My name is Sharon Mandor. Today, the 17th of April 2025, on the melting point, we our focus shifts to a heartbreaking and troubling development. The spate of killings in the north central region of Nigeria, particularly in Plateau State. Over 40 lives were lost in a single night in the community of Zike, once again raising the painful question, why do these attacks continue to happen? While families bury their loved ones, the president is reportedly on vacation in France, sparking outrage among citizens who feel abandoned and unheard. Some see it as a stark reflection of the growing disconnect between leadership and the people. But these attacks are not new. From Benue to Kaduna Plateau, remember that these attacks are still even happening in Benue State. We've seen similar patterns: villages razed, lives lost, promises made, justice delayed. So today we ask, how did we get here? Why do these atrocities continue unabated? And what must change to truly protect Nigerian lives? We're going to be having this conversation with a seasoned public and political affairs analyst and the president and founder of Open Forum, Citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor. Good morning to you, Citizen MKO.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Good morning, and good morning to fellow citizens.
Morning and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's just dive straight into it. This is in the first community in Plateau, Benue, or even southern Kaduna that have been attacked. What do you think is responsible for the consistent failure to prevent these recurring killings despite previous government promises?
What a way to start an emotional conversation. You asked a rhetorical question earlier when you said, how did we get here? And I have a simple answer anytime such questions are asked over issues that I personally have knowledge, and the knowledge is in public domain for certain persons because of their either personal or ethnic or political interests who want to deny. We got here where people are being killed on daily basis, some of them, or possibly most of them, unreported. Is because we refuse to tell truth to ourselves, that there is something fundamentally wrong with the way we are structured, with the way we've allowed some persons to think and believe that this is who they are, and this is what should be the yardstick for measuring who others are. We got here with our eyes wide open. We have lived in denial, but I'm so glad that in the midst of this hypocrisy, in the midst of this failure of leadership, we have somebody that just told the truth within the week. And what is that truth? The truth is that what has been going on has been genocide. And when you know what genocide is, you will discover that if you are a victim of genocide and you refuse to say it, or you allow anybody to shout you down from saying the truth, then you are not even worth living in the first place. And who is that person that I just told the truth about what is happening in the Middle Belt? Is a man that a product of a power struggle that made him to be governor, and like his counterpart in I'm talking about Mufwang, the governor of Plateau State.
Yeah.
like his counterpart in Benue State, and we must put this in proper perspective. The two states that are the major victims of this very genocide has been Benue and Plateau. And remember, they were just one state before. We used to call Benue Plateau.
Yeah.
And now, when it was now separated, it became Plateau State and Benue State. And the land there is very fertile. The agriculture that's going on there is first class. But some persons felt the land should belong to them by any means. And having been an agenda for centuries, and some persons are trying to follow that up. The other state that is also affected, but just a section of it, is affected with these same genocidal tendencies, happen to be Kaduna State, particularly specifically southern Kaduna, and the stories there are gory. I must say this. I have started investigation on the communities that had been overrun for several years now and actually renamed. I hope that doesn't sound strange to you.
That's where in Kaduna State?
Kaduna, Jos, some of the states, yes. I have been given a link to somebody that I'm going to work with who is on ground there, so that we don't just talk. When we talk, we should be able to mention, why do you talk about land grabbing? So when they grab the land, who will take over the land? You will get to know. And people are very free to do their research. So be able to help people in power. It's not enough that you have people in government. People can be in government. There's no governance because some persons are there for their self-aggrandizement. So what matters is the people. How will the people preserve themselves? We have community leaders. We have town unions. We have village heads. We have even family heads. So why do I allow this to persist? And for the guidance of those who may be saying, where did he get this issue of genocide from? That somebody of note, like a governor, said what is happening is genocide. This is a report on the Arise Morning Show of the 8th of April, and the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, is supposed to have said that what happened in Bokos was genocide, an attempt at land grabbing. And the story, quoting him exactly, says that I would say it unapologetically, what happened in the last 2 weeks in Bokos is genocide. I say it unreservedly. No one has given me any reason to believe that what happened was politically motivated. And if there is any such suggestion, I'll be glad to receive the evidence of such, because these were unprovoked attacks on innocent people, vulnerable people. And there has been a pattern over the years that we discovered that the onset of the farming season, these attacks normally come in. And then there is a respite when people manage to go to the farm and farm the little farmlands that remain. And then when the harvest is about to come in, there is another wave of attacks. So it suggests to us this is a well-coordinated plan to keep the people in those areas in perpetual poverty. It is possible that there could have been tensions in the past between communities, but I've challenged anyone to tell me who the feuding communities are. If we knew any community feuding within another community, we'll be able to step in and bring in a reconciliation process. But at the moment, you are dealing with attackers that are faceless, and you just leave it to the fact that this is ill-motivated and is aimed at driving the people out of their lands, because we have had situations where these things happen before, and when people are driven out of their lands for 3 to 5 years, there is an occupation. And so that leaves us with the suggestion, with the understanding that this is about land grabbing. I can go on, and the reality is that the governor has admitted the reality, and he has not lied to himself. And I want to join the governor to challenge anybody that will have any contrary position on this matter to come forward. And when that person comes forward, you know what? We'll bring a video where the current governor of Bauchi State, I think it was a senator, Bala Mohammed, or call him Governor Bala Mohammed, granted interview to a national or call international TV station where he was asked this issue of Fulani, foreign Fulani, local Fulanis who have been accused of being violent, all of that. He said something that has shocked me till today, that even the government of the day has refused to analyze that statement and amend some of the excuses they try to give. Because what have been the excuses? When we talk about killer headsmen, or used to be called a Fulani headsmen, they said you are, what is that term now? You are profiling. You stop profiling the Fulanis. Yes, Fulanis are peaceful people as far as Nigerian Fulanis, to the extent that I know, are concerned, because we never used to have this until some persons who also confessed to the media that they brought in foreign Fulanis to help them win election in 2015. Google, you see it. And the people could not be settled. The attempts, they could not get the land across Nigeria to give to them because of the several manipulative policies that that administration wanted to come up with. And eventually these people have become very brutal. But what is the summary? Based on what Bala Mohammed said, which is there live for anybody to find out. He said, all Fulanis anywhere in the world are Nigerians. I repeat, anybody who is intelligent enough and has an Android phone can Google is a video that Fulanis anywhere in the world are Nigerians, that even in the South, they speak your language, they are from South. So the excuses that we normally hear, that those violent people, they are not from Nigerians, they are not from Nigeria, they are not Nigerians, is nothing but manipulative talk to make the gullible feel that that person has said something. They have said nothing. They have said nothing. And if Bokos and is it Mianko or this other community that Miango that they went to, where the governor, the same governor, Mutuang, while addressing the paramount ruler, he said this: I will tell you the truth. I have been crying since yesterday because I had trusted God that all the arrangements were put in place, that it would not happen again. Yeah. We have made investment in security. But like all human arrangements, sometimes they fail. Mm-hmm. I want to admit that on Sunday night, that was 13th to 14th April, we failed. Please forgive me. He was speaking at the palace of the paramount ruler of Miango after more than 50 people were murdered by these terrorists who, certain persons, in trying to cover up what has been going on in the country, they call them bandits. And I said from day one that the person and the people that coined the term bandit to cover a particular people who believe that they are born violent, they are born, I don't know what other term to use, to hide the gravity and the direction where this was coming from, are enemies of Nigeria, and they will give account, if not to Nigerians, to God Almighty. So the reality is that Mutuang have admitted that government has failed to protect the people. And he cried his heart out. And I'm sure while crying, he must be praying, God, come to our aid. God has helped us, that we still have voices like this. So if we do not do the next needful thing to hold our leaders accountable, then we are less than humans. Because Sharon, what we are talking about, put yourself, like I put myself in their shoes. Supposing we were the ones affected, would we be here? Those are human beings, for God's sake. And the attackers are not neighboring villages. They are not struggling over land boundaries. They are doing ethnic cleansing and genocide. And somebody very prominent said this during the last administration. His name is T.Y. Danjuma. He was, I think, the Minister for Defense during the Obasanjo 70-something era. He fought the war. They know the story of the country. I think he's from Taraba State, one of the states that's affected as well. He accused anybody, any institution that he needed to accuse, and told the people that these institutions have colluded with the terrorists, that people should protect themselves, otherwise all of them will die. And people are dying. And nothing, Sharon, nothing is happening. It's not the first time. During, let me drop this, during the immediate past administration of General Buhari, it was so terrible that the governor, who was an APC governor, defected. The man was crying every other day. He was also attacked severally. He'll be running like an ordinary person, just trying to save his life, until he defected. And the battle to make sure he didn't come back. The man came back because the people stood by him. Unfortunately, one thing led to another. The resistance could not go on. And then we have a governor there earlier who is a reverend father. The same killing continues. The state Benue is APC now. The same killing is continuing. And unfortunately, the kind of statement that Mutfwang is making, we are not hearing it from Reverend Father Alia. And when it happened during that, that's our man's name again? The former governor of Benue State. We'll try to remember his name. Yeah.
That's after Suswan.
After Suswan. Yes, we'll remember his name. Very familiar. Now, what happened was that President Buhari was so embarrassed at the killing, and he asked the IG to relocate. The infamous or the very embarrassing statement, confession President Buhari then made was, "I'm not aware." What was he not aware? He was not aware that the IG that he directed to go and make sure he relocates to, I think, Benue, never went to Benue until he himself went there. That was, I think, it was a Yuletide period that they killed. Samuel Otom, thank you very much. Until, this was, I think, in December. Not until March that it happened again that he went there. In March of the following year, and discovered that IG did not go there. So what does that tell you? It's an organized crime, and people are sponsoring it. And if anybody who says he is in government and does not know what to do and cannot take ideas from those that have, such people should never be taken seriously, because there is a very simple solution to this.
Susan, you've talked about organized crime, and first of all, I know that we've been talking about what's the cause of all this going on in Jos. When I lived in Jos, I heard things like community clashes, boundaries. We also had religious, what there were different.
You lived in Jos?
Yes, for 10 years. So it was like different reasons. I was also affected at some point.
Imagine that.
Different reasons. But moving on, a number of people have pointed fingers at other people for being in connection with this crime. Recently, one of the governors pointed fingers at the Minister of State for Defense, saying that he is involved in the insecurity going on in this country, and nothing was done about that. In past times, they have also pointed fingers, saying this is why these things are done. And some people have also noticed that security forces are often deployed after the damage has been done. So it looks like, I remember watching the Mutfwang's Governor Mutfwang's interview, and it really seemed like it was out of his hands. whoever was controlling or whatever was controlling it, it's bigger than what he can do. He can only try his best. But what does that tell us? How can we get out of this mess?
It is a simple thing, like I said, but it will be made complex because in the country, our leaders have admitted that we have serious leadership failure. The problem of Nigeria is not citizens. The problem of Nigeria is about leaders who, when they are looking for power, they speak intelligently, they profess solutions. When they are in office, they lose contact with reality completely and do directly opposite of whatever they had been posturing. And so that itself is corruption, and it calls for a state of emergency. Even if somebody is a ruler, when citizens are strong enough and their voices are loud enough, and the international community is drawn to certain things that borders on human rights, because anything that has to do with human rights transcends states, transcends communities. It's no longer about you, no, it's about us. Human rights is a global thing where those who are humans should be able to rise up and save fellow humans from the hands of those who have turned themselves to sort of beast. Human Angle is an online, I think it's an NGO or whatever organization, did a report some time ago, and they actually put the figure killed as when this report was done at about 60,000 people being displaced and hundreds of thousands. Okay, they have killed over 60,000 persons in what is normally termed farmer header crisis. I hope you are with me.
Yeah.
There's nothing called farmer header crisis, I've always said. How so is because farmers don't go to farms with AK-47 and rocket launchers. They go to farm with their machetes and their hoes.
But we have them. The hunters recently, because we got their hunters.
You don't. That is another indictment on whosoever coined that you could have people who come from the north to do hunting in the south, and from what we hear in the report, they go back with tons of monies in different currencies. That is a joke. That is an indictment. There's more to it, and that's a subject for another day. So the issue of farmer header crisis has been a ploy used by certain persons to be able to adjust themselves, place themselves where they're not supposed to, and then take advantage of people who are unable to resist them. So if you have over 60,000 killed and then hundreds of thousands displaced in communities between Benue and Plateau State, and during the worst form of it, and looking back historically, like the Human Angle put it here, they said that the animosity stems from competition over land and resources. It wasn't by climate change, population growth, and desertification in the north driving headers southward. That has been even the excuse by government. You cannot want to continue a tradition that time has made it outdated. Herding is done in first world countries, civilized countries, and is done in ranches, and they make money in billions of dollars. They contribute to national development. They contribute huge income to the national coffers. But in Nigeria, there is no record of how much government has made from herding business. And there is no record of how much it will make projections in the next 3 to 4 years, because it's purely a private business. But this business is done in such a crude manner. And in 1967, a high court in Oyo State outlawed open grazing, which is what normally brings this, what you may call the conflict. You cannot bring your cattle to my farm to feed on my farm. Cattle is your business. Farming is my business. Now your business comes to eat up my own business in my own land, and you cannot raise your voice. That is inhuman. Anybody that wants to defend that is subhuman. There are things we should not even say. So ranching will help even the cows to produce milk, will help even the herders to be more human, to fit into this century that we are in. So insistence that open grazing or cattle routes must be brought back, like the last administration under Buhari tried to do, and coming out with all sorts of manipulative stories they call policies, which are not policies. They all failed, and some of us were at the forefront. One of my greatest advocacies was on that when he even attempted the National Water Resources Bill. In one single program, I put in the highest amount I've ever invested in advocacy. To the glory of God, that was rested. Unfortunately, what is happening now, even within this administration, something that Buhari could not attempt, he could not do, has been done and is ongoing. And people are not talking about it. I've mentioned that before. So, the federal government, who handles security, will be held responsible for the inability for citizens to be protected. The governors are answering Chief Security Officer by name, because the CP is not answerable to the governor. The Commissioner of Police in every state is answerable to the IG, who relates with the Mr. President per second. The military formations we have, they are not answerable to the governor of any state, including Akwa Ibom State. Any approval for action will be received from the Commander-in-Chief. And who is that? Mr. President. And that was why, when in 2000, IPC created a level of insecurity, I think a security person was killed, or somebody was killed, and Obasanjo threatened what is now, what do you call it now? A state of emergency in Lagos. I see what you Bola make to know as the governor of Lagos State told Obasanjo. It's a sign of your failure. I don't handle security. So if they see security, you can't blame it on me. It's on you, Mr. President. The only way forward is to allow us practice true federalism. I'm using that term, of course, I'm happy with. Yeah, you could. Federalism. The states should have a level of control. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu believed in state police. He believed in the practice of fiscal federalism. But he's on the saddle now, and sadly, very sadly, he is on vacation in France. And people like Peter Obi and others have said, Mr. President, over 150 people have been killed in less than a week or two. You are doing vacation, a one-man retreat in France. It has never happened anywhere in the world.
Okay, Citizen, we'll come to the fact that the president is not in this country, but we would like to know, because in past similar attacks, such as the 2018 Plateau massacre, and then the one that happened in 2023 in Benue State,
yes,
investigations were announced, but justice remains elusive. How can, or what kind of mechanism can we put in place to hold perpetrators and complicit actors accountable this time?
The problem still bounces back on leadership. There are people who are in vantage positions who are out to protect the interest of either their ethnic nationality and what they believe is tradition, which they cannot do without, and the fact that prior to now, in 18-something and in 1900s, there have been an agenda for some persons to be able to expand their territories, which has been made worse with climate change. But climate change is also an excuse for acceleration of certain persons saying that we don't own a land. Even you that call yourself indigenous people, you don't own the land. That land is owned by God. We have the right to come and also take over the land and become the landowners. So it is an agenda, like Muftuang said. And if you don't know the people behind that agenda, you'll be the one defending the same people. Because there's something called takia. I normally use this. You grew up in the north. Middle belt. They say they are not north. They are not anyway. Yeah, it's for middle belt. And in Islam, there's something called takia. Takia is an approval for you to be able to tell a lie, as long as you are protecting the faith, as long as you're advancing the cause of what you believe in. So some persons apply takia because of the gullibility of what they believe are the majority. They wouldn't know what you are saying. You are lying to people and people clap for you. You are lying to people and they are following you. Yeah, some here are people who have adopted that in the South, even Christians. Certain persons lie for a living because they know that you are not looking at them. You are looking at the office they hold. And because that office, you can determine if they are to eat or not to eat, or even if they are to be free or not to be free. So takia has crept in everywhere. You're not going to brand it as something that is practiced in Islam, or it's a method that some people adopt for whatever purpose, and it's been bastardized. People have adopted it here. I've fallen victim of certain persons who I'm supposed to have held in high esteem as whatever they say should be truth. But they were just nothing but blatant liars. So if you are not able to decipher who you are dealing with, you have to deal with the matter. So first of all, like Muftuang said, it is not a communal fight. The people coming in are pure strangers. And they are not coming to even say, this is the boundary of the land. It's just to kill people in their sleep. So the assertion by Bala Mohammed that all Fulanis in Africa, virtually in the world, are Nigerians should be investigated. We must be able to determine what's the limit of how certain persons can do a private business infringing on other people's businesses, particularly the farming business, the cattle rearing, and people that plant crops. You draw a line. Open grazing must be banned. Then we have to have the practice of fiscal federalism. Nigeria, for God's sake, is a federal republic of Nigeria, not a unitary state. You cannot sit in Abuja and want to determine the security network in my village, Bakang, in Seletai. Because we have a village head, we have the youth president, who should be able to know. They know everybody in the community. And thank God for Pastor Moino. He did something that was almost impossible to think of. Some of us thought something close to that, but we never thought we could have a governor's aide in every ward. So you have the ability, because some wards are even a village. I think in this state, there's a ward that is one village. Some wards are just two villages. Some 7, some 8, some 9, maybe some more. So what does that mean? Security starts at the family level. Why do you have family heads? Why do you have people that say they are family heads? What do you head? Why do we have village heads who are unable to pass security information to the right quarters? We have clan heads, and then we have paramount rulers, and we have insecurity. You heard the, what's that, Mianko, the paramount ruler there. It's a paramount that the governor moved to Ahmed, where Ponkon Jos is the overall, but this other local government paramount ruler. Okay. You understand? Now, what has been the relationship between family heads, village heads, clan heads, and the paramount ruler having to do with the security agencies? Is there any security arrangement that makes use of intels from this unit? If there is none, we have failed. And if it is to be done to be able to get to IG in Abuja before action is taken, we are among men most miserable. So the practice of physical federalism, where the governor will be the chief security officer of the state with a state police, when we adopted this presidential system from, I learned they have police, not just state police, county, local government police. Why must somebody in Urefonguruko or a village, Mukweyokan, wherever, have to come to Ikodokwanabia? Because the matter reported to the DPO there, he cannot handle it. Or because there's compromise along the line. Why? There should be the federal police and the state police, and this to also go down to the level of family heads. They know who to report to, because these things can happen in 10 minutes. So in 30 seconds you make your report, you are sure there's a security formation nearby that can arrest these things. And nobody, for God's sake, every street they have leaders. In my street, we have the chairman. We have the chairman of the street. That's leadership. So if the chairman of the street cannot ensure the security of the inhabitants of the street, he has failed. In estate, we have, even in highbrow estate, have you not heard that the chairman of the estate, they have leadership? So must people be wrought in the estate that somebody is a chairman of the estate with an EXCO, and within seconds, that person cannot reach out to security and something done? Or you just find people, strange persons coming in and wreaking havoc, and you are helpless? And sometimes when some of these persons are arrested, they are released. You heard what the governor of Adama of Zamfara said the other day, that people who were caught, terrorists, who own up to committing terrorism, and they boasted that nothing will happen to them. And by the time they were taken to where they were supposed to be taken to, in minutes, and a matter of 1 hour, they were out. Governor Lawal, Google it, you see it, that they have people in high places at the center that protect. I mean, this makes us to look as if we are subhumans. And the more people don't talk about this, so that they can eat, the more they look more like not being humans. And it's so bad that we could have people that are without conscience, who for the sake of their bellies, they will not want to speak out. The reality is that someday, what they don't speak out will come to them, and nobody will speak for them. But are we going to live at the mercies of persons who have no business being in public office or public offices? No. We must be able to bring these things before them. This is the way to go. So Mr. President needs to set up a high-powered investigative panel to investigate the issues of genocide, not just in the Middle Belt, in Nigeria, and ask and answer fundamental questions. Are there communities that have been overrun and renamed? Are there communities that majority of people are still in IDPs and non-indigenous people have taken over their lands? What should be done about open grazing? Because the major thing is the open grazing. Without the open grazing issue, cattle rearing would not become the number one problem, which we are pretending as if we don't know what is happening. Then the issue that raised by Senator Bala Mohammed, or Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, that all Fulanis in Africa are Nigerians. They are free anywhere they find them. That is their land, including the South. Google wherever you are listening to me, and listen to that video, and just have a free brain transplant to know that we are not doing what we're supposed to do, that we hear a thing and we understand and we try to raise issues about it. This is the way to go. And then the sponsors of these things should be unveiled.
All right.
We don't unveil them officially, unofficially. Citizens know those, or at least some of those who are behind. And naturally, if we are silent about such a matter, you just know that you'll be considered as one of those sponsoring this havoc. And there's consequence, if not by man, but certainly by God.
All right, 0803 085 7755, 0803 085 7755, or 0809 066 6909, 0809 066 6909. The WhatsApp number, in case you want to reach us via WhatsApp, is 0809 066 6909. Facebook is Memories 965 FM. We're streaming live on Memories 965 FM. If you drop a comment, we will read it out. We're talking about the insecurity situation in the country, in Plateau State and Benue State precisely. So, citizen, as it is now, the president is out on leave in France. Do you believe that leadership present during national crisis is symbolic or substantially impactful? Because when Peter Obi and even Atiku Abubakar mentioned it, that during the time that you have left, talking about the president, a number of people have died. Don't you think there is time for you to pack your things and start coming back to Nigeria? The presidency responded and said that the president is doing what he can from over there. He has given out orders, he has given out directives. Those are the things that he can do from over there. Do you believe that he should be back? Do you think that it is symbolic for him to be here?
First of all, I have said this before, that leaders are vulnerable, just like the vulnerables that we know. Being a president or being a governor exposes the occupant of that office to certain factors which, if citizens know, some persons will never want to be president or governor. Sharon, the sacrifices these people make to even hold on to the positions that they hold daily, the hidden challenges that they have. When it was announced that Mr. President is going on a one-man retreat to France, and you know that he has been to France more than any other country in the world ever been Mr. President, even as a private person, even as a governor, France is his second home. And that is to the fact that he has investments, he has business relationship with somebody who's from France. That's not the issue now. But then, within the period Mr. President left, few days after, we saw the court judgment in US having to do with the release of his papers. His FBI document, which was and has been, possibly the last 30 years, issue of controversy. And some people never knew that that case was still on until the revelation that the judgment has been given. I think in the next few days or few hours, they are going to see how the authorities will comply with that. And that's a very dangerous thing to happen. We are talking about 70,000 pages of documents, which may not speak well. But that's just by the way. So
the presidency has said there's nothing to hide. I mean,
no. What do you expect them to say? When Mr. President's lawyer told the court then that they should not release, that if they release this document to Atiku, the president's life will be destroyed forever. Where were they? I was the one feeling sorry for Mr. President, that for him to ask his lawyer to file this kind of affidavit shows you that how does the man even able to sleep? So what they know, what they go through in secret, and how they plan to overcome it makes anybody at that level vulnerable. So Mr. President is not going there to rest. I'm sure he's doing certain things. He has met with, I think, U.S. Secretary of Assistant Secretary of State or whoever there, talking how to relate with Nigeria and all of that. You don't know what goes on in the sidelines. So, Mr. President may be struggling for his life, struggling for his integrity, struggling for whatever, which to him, if you cannot save himself, you cannot save others. Because nothing on earth, even other presidents, will cut short state visit. Remember, as he went there, some people were saying that, how can Mr. President go on a state visit to France? And the French president was out, left him. Yeah. For me, I said, that's not even an issue. It wasn't a kind of official state visit that he has to be with the president. They were clear. At least this one, like gambling, worked out. They said, private retreat.
It's now to take this home, or just hold that thought.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning and welcome. What's your name and where are you from?
Good morning to the analyst in the studio.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Godwin, calling from here.
Welcome.
Yes. Heard the analyst trying to bring out some of the points which are very vital in the issue. Yeah, discussing right. They are linking some of the state police down to the issue of security. State police down to the village head, military and people up to the paramount. And yes, ideally that should be fine to have the state police. But we must first of all work on the attitude of our leaders. So many people are canvassing for the state police, so many politicians, the governors and the rest canvassing for state police. They know why they are canvassing for state police. It is for their selfish interest when it comes to time. Because right now, it's even better the way we are now in terms of security, the policemen that we have a central police arrangement than when we will have something we call state police. All these things will boil down to the attitude of our people and the behavior of our people, the conscience of our people. When all those people are corrupt, when the leaders are corrupt, they can never do anything right in terms of security. So I have seen a village that somebody, a serious criminal is in that village, and even the village head is trying to shield the person because the person is strong, and they know what they are doing. It has happened in so many villages right now. And talk less of when we will have like the state security and the rest of the stuff, they will use it to defend themselves and further harass the poor masses and the rest of the stuff.
All right, can you wrap up?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have from Godwin that's on Facebook. Good morning, Queen of the Airwaves. Good morning, Godwin. Fighting insecurity and insurgencies in Nigeria is a collective responsibility and obligation. Thank you very much, Kevin. Good morning to you, Kevin. Good morning to you, Kevin. I don't know if I can get you for 30 seconds. Good morning. I can hear
Good morning.
Yes, it's an MP.
Yes.
Okay. One of the good morning.
Good morning, my brother. Thank you.
I want to talk about they are really from the head because I've been wondering who are these aliens and take care of the community and the village is not even aware of it that something is going on in the community. I think the main root of this insecurity is from the community. Because every community either payment or village care. There's no village or any community that have them. They don't know the boundary of your community and don't know what is going on in your community. So I think this is for me. I think I will support the community policing.
All right. Thank you very much.
Community,
Kevin, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, citizen, we have a minute.
Okay.
I don't know if we can quickly wrap up your thoughts in a minute.
Yeah, I thank the callers, but for my brother that is afraid that if we have state police or what last caller just said, community policing, that we will not, it will be hijacked. It's still the lack of trust we have in our leaders. We cannot run a presidential system or federal system without these institutions. It means we are completely off the mark. I want to draw attention to what Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association said, that if open grazing is outlawed, it is an attempt to criminalize our means of livelihood of cattle rearing through satanic and obnoxious laws. I'm raising this because I have raised these issues. There are people that are going to defend. They have not hidden. And we want to appeal to our leaders that they must be able to engage any association or any interest group that wants to believe that they are entitled to whatsoever they want. If we want to save the country, we must be firm and we must do justice. We cannot allow another person's means of livelihood to take over the means of livelihood of others and create insecurity that we look as if we don't have security institutions and our people do not have anybody to speak for them. What is happening in Benue, what's happening in Southern Kaduna, what's happening in Plateau, what has happened even in Akwa Ibom State, what's happening in Enugu State that we know has to come to an end. If it does not come to an end, it will be an indictment, an eternal indictment on our leaders.
Precisely. Thank you very much, it's the MQ, for your time here.
My pleasure.
I really hope, like I said on today's papers, that we get to smile at some point as, this is done and we don't have to, this has gone on for so many years. Plateau State, Benue State, again, Southern Kaduna at some point was very bloody. I hope that we get past this. I hope that there's political will. I hope that there's will. And some of the perpetrators that are, involved in this get caught and justice served.
That's right.
Thank you very much once again, Citizen MKO.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Enjoy your long weekend. Tomorrow is public holiday. So, but you don't have holidays.
Work, I don't have holidays.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to The Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM. My name is Sharon Mando. Coming up next is Oyoedun. Stay with us.
Expressed by guests of this program are personal and do not represent the stand of